be prepared that you will listen to something that you never heard before. I hope you are young and open-minded people, so at least I don't think that I will be able to convince you in everything that what I'll be saying to you, but at least there's a good chance for provoke sort of alternative thinking, because what I'll be telling you definitely differs from the mainstream point of view. I'll focus more not on the politics, but rather on the economics. So if there'll be any questions over the course of my presentation, please ask me, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. And what else? I have actually 2.5 hours to tease you with my slides. But if you feel that you are tired, please tell me, and we may switch to other topics like Ukraine or whatever. Okay, so first of all, I don't know to what, how much you are, educated in terms of understanding global gas markets. This first slide gives you an overview of the existing pricing systems all over the world. I outlined at least 4 existing pricing systems, plus there are 2 another systems that are emerging at the moment. And I will start my presentation with first the system which basically dominates global world trade, and this is so-called oil indexation. Oil indexation, and you have to understand it clearly, it's an alternative way of pricing a commodity, which differs from a traditional pricing, which is based on supply and demand. In case of oil indexation is a form of replacement value valuation. What means replacement value valuation? You are not setting up a price by means of supply demand for the same commodity, but you are basically estimating a basket of alternative commodities that if you want to replace your commodity with these commodities, definitely you'll have to pay a certain price. And this price, not the price of supply and demand, says the price of oil for more than 60% of the global trade in oil. Oil indexation is extremely popular in Asia, where there are at the moment there are no hubs. There are some OTC trading only. Nearly all the volume of LNG that comes to Japan, Korea, Indonesia, and India comes under oil index. It means that price of a commodity is set at a certain discount or premium to the existing oil brand. It's a Japanese crude oil cocktail, so-called. There is also another absolutely different form of pricing, which is as you from the United States, you maybe know it better than me. It's a pricing based purely on supply and demand, and this pricing is known that prices nearly all over the United States are set up at a cost-plus basis to Henry Hub price, and this pricing is based on pure supply and demand and the equilibrium price setting. There is another specific form of pricing that you can find in Australia. In Australia, it's presence of both long-term long-term replacement value indexation in one part of the Australia, and another part in the province of Victoria there is a hub, and prices are set by supply and demand. In Europe, what we have at the moment in Europe, I call it the system a hybrid system. That means that in contrast to Australia, which is, it's always a specific place to be, you have two pricing systems, but they are basically functioning simultaneously in a special mode that basically makes the system unique. At the moment, there are also another pricing systems emerging. One of them is basically pricing based on long-term contracts and hub pricing, and that's what European Union and clients of Gazprom demand from us. But I'll explain later why this method of pricing is not acceptable to us. And there is a new, there were already several contracts striked. There's a special form of pricing that is based on the Henry Hub cost plus price. And under this price, there are already contracts of major traders in Europe and utilities in Asia that are buying LNG from that already striked contracts and to deliver gas, for instance, from Cheniere LNG liquefaction plant that will be the construction of this plant will be finalized next year. Problem of pricing in natural gas is that at the moment there is no benchmark, in the sense that there are at least 3 different pricing centers. One of them, United States. Here put a price 3.9, but because this data from mid-2013, but now the price is $6.5 per MBTU on Henry Hub. There is also pricing there are also long-term contracts that a proxy for that contract is buffer index, and prices that are set up by at the hubs of TTF and BP as the most liquid hubs in Europe. You'll see that prices of buffer and liquid hubs are close to each other, while there is a huge differential between the price of Henry Hub and the price of natural gas, price of LNG in Japan. In Japan, at the moment, price is close to $20 per BTU. That is anyway like twice as high as price in Europe, and more than 3 times higher than the price in Japan. The problem with the natural gas is that there's no firm answer to a question: what is a fair price of natural gas? A person who will say, okay, price of natural gas is that what, for instance, we see in the United States. It's now $6 per BTU, for instance. And this person will be absolutely correct as another person who will say, oh, no, the real price of natural gas is $20 per BTU, as like in Japan. The moment there is no precise answer to that questions, and it gives a lot of room for speculations on what is a fair price. And also, if we come to politics, there's a lot of speculations that, for instance, that Gazprom is charging his clients at an exorbitant or extremely high price, and it's an instrument of say, Russian international politics, something, which is absolutely, this statement is absolutely unfair. There is no benchmark, but we basically believe that the existing price in Europe is a fair price. You ask me, why do you think so? let's look. Well, first of all, we believe that there is a really lot of commonalities between prices of oil and natural gas. Natural gas, as the moment the dominant pricing system in Europe is oil indexation, and basically prices in Europe are set up by oil index. We think that there is a lot of commonalities, between oil and gas. This relationship is natural, and what is more important, that it does not lead to any special, specifically escalated prices for our European customers. In order to prove this, I can give you a graph a table basically that shows prices of major global commodities over the last 10 to 12 years. And if you look at this table, you will see that that a significant portion of exchange traded commodities has grown over the last 10 years 3-4 times. It doesn't matter whether it's metals or agricultural products or chemicals. Oil and oil products has grown at a pace of 4.5 times. While if you look at gas, which is, for instance, buffer gas, which is we believe it's a proxy to our contracts, has grown less than 3 times. So largely in pace with the growth of all other major commodities globally. And I think this comparison with the global prices gives an indication that we have inflation, largely resulting from the fact that we don't have at the moment any firm currency in the world, and as a result of this inflation, a broad range of commodities are growing in price. And the pace of growth of oil index gas is basically in line with the growth of other commodities, or even it has grown less than, for instance, the price of chemicals or price of oil products, to which this gas is linked in our contracts. At the same time, we see a clear price anomaly in the United States, where price of natural gas in the United States has not increased in price over the last 10 to 12 years, which is really like a strange development because we know that there is no other commodity in the world, even if you take McDonald's Big Mac, that has not increased in price over the last 12 years due simply to inflation. Let's take a look at the European gas market and pricing on this market. As I said, Europe has a unique pricing system, which is based on a symbiotic relationship between the two different pricing modes or principles. One mode is a replacement value, which is the same as oil indexation, and another is supply and demand. But when there are these two systems function together, there's always a question: what system dominates? What type of pricing dominates? In case of Europe, we still have a dominance of oil indexation because 75% of incoming gas comes to Europe under oil index. Also, if you for instance, compare, try to find out the correlation between a price of oil, Brent, in our case in Europe, and compare this price with the price of TTF or Henry Hub, is the most liquid trading floors in Europe. You will find a rather weak correlation of positive correlation of 0.7. But if you take a 6 to 9 moving average, which is basically the pricing mode in the formulas that we have, you will find out an extremely strong correlation. That means that basically prices of natural gas on TTF and Henry Hub are derivatives of prices of the long-term contracts. I was arguing this for more than 3 years, especially we have a lot of meetings with European analysts and European members of the European Commission. And they were always saying, "Oh, this is like it's a propaganda of Gazprom. It has nothing to do with the reality." But recently, I saw an ASA. ASA is Association of European Regulators report of November 2013, and it states black and white that oil prices are still main determinant of wholesale prices in Europe. And that basically the movement of gas prices in a long-term contract of Gazprom set up pricing on the European hubs, set up the baseline trend for the development, because there's also some elements of supply and demand. But this is more like modulation of this baseline rather than an independent price setting. That means that, for instance, if when prices of oil go up, in a similar way, prices on TTF and Henry Hub also go up. And when prices of oil go down, in a similar way, prices on TTF and NBP goes down. And it has nothing to do in terms of base trend to supply and demand relationship. It's maybe I'll leave the slide. It's very complicated, but it basically shows the complicity of this hybrid pricing model in Europe compared to a rather simple pricing model that exists in the United States, when we have a rather simplified prices based on Henry Hub plus transportation costs to the places of consumption. Although to a certain extent there is also influence over local factors, for instance, weather conditions that may affect pricing. For instance, if you maybe know this better than me, that over this cold snap that has in the United States in February, on the certain the gate of New York, for a while prices were $100 per BTU compared to $6 at Henry Hub. This was a result of the short-term fluctuations, and basically it's a force majeure situation on the market. But anyway, European pricing model is much more complicated, because it's made of certain elements that make this system really unique. If you look at the differences between the United States and continental Europe, we will see, first of all, that in the United States, because there is the pricing model is based on supply and demand, its price is a function of these two factors, while in continental Europe, this is largely a function of short-term arbitrage opportunities and balancing of the firm contract suppliers. Also, in the United States, there is a Pricing is based on Henry Hub plus location-based value differential, while in continental Europe we see a multiplicity of prices. In the United States we have for instance, in continental Europe, physical volumes on hubs are not play a major role in price setting. Because this is more a place for short-term arbitrage and balancing. And also, if you look at the churn ratios, do you know what churn ratio, by the way? Yes. Great, it's experienced audience. So if you look at the churn ratios, in the United States, at Henry Hub, churn ratio is above, I think, 30, while on continental hubs, we have extremely low churn ratios, except for NBP and TTF. But again, this is also it's a special issue how to estimate churn ratios, because if you use different methods, you may come to different results. And there's certain cases that brings, for instance, TTF churn ratios to the level of NBP. But when it comes to other continental hubs, churn ratios are extremely low. And what is more surprising, that they are not growing. So if it's not only important to say that these two prices, I mean prices of long-term contracts and prices of hub gas, they are close to each other, but there is certain relationship between these two different price sets. As you can see on this chart, and long-term contracts are it's a green line. You'll see that this green line basically is a kind of a red line, in the sense that line on the sand, whatever you call it. That means that hub prices tend to be lower than contract prices, and prices of long-term contracts are more look like a ceiling, and the prices on hubs hurt the ceiling and then come down. It's not an easy for a hub price to be higher than a contract price, and it's a very interesting relationship that I will try to explain you later on. For instance, this is another example of that relationship, that there are certain short periods when hub prices are higher than contract prices. For instance, in the UK, there was an extremely cold end of February, beginning of the March of last year, and we saw a growth of hub prices up to $600 per thousand cubic meters, compared to average prices of maybe 350. But this is not a long period of time. Then these hub prices tend to adjust to, and they are on average lower than contract prices. How to explain this difference? For instance, we explain this difference by the fact that that oil index prices and hub prices represent two different products on the market. In what sense? In the sense that that there is an intrinsic premium for security of supply and flexibility that is provided by long-term contracts compared to hub prices, and this creates mismatch that I've mentioned before. That means that hub prices tend to be lower than contract prices. In fact, when we are, as Gazprom are forced to adjust our prices to hub levels as a result of negotiations with our clients and the demands coming from our clients, or as a result of arbitration, we see that after a short period of time, hub prices tend to adjust and basically come within a short period of time below contract prices. And this unfortunately creates this endless process of revision that we are now basically see on the market. It means that we are forced to get involved in a lot of renegotiations with our clients for demanding price revisions that come as a result of the difference between the existing contract and hub prices. I mean, again, this difference is not huge, but anyway, we are forced to give up maybe 3, 4, 5% of the value of our gas as a result of these negotiations. We, as Gazprom, we still firmly believe that existing hub price, that we cannot use hubs as a benchmark for our long-term contracts. And this is a result of a really important economic differences between the contractual terms of long-term contracts with take-or-pay and those that short-term contracts that trade at hubs. There is a premium, as I've said already, for security of supply that is embedded in these long-term contracts. And it's a good question how to value the security. You know that usually no one values security until it's gone. But when it's gone, it's really could be huge. As for instance, a good example that maybe you are too young to remember this, but it was in 2005 or 2004. There was a fire in Great Britain on the rough storage. As a result, prices on NBP has skyrocketed to $8 or $9 per MBTU compared to average to $3, $4. Another important difference between the long-term oil index contracts and hub contracts is that there is no flexibility offered by hubs. So if a buyer, when a buyer buys gas at hubs, it buys a standard lot or standard number of lots, number of standard lots of gas with no flexibility. While if a buyer has a long-term contract with us, it also has an opportunity to order as much gas on a daily basis as it meets with its individual daily consumption pattern. Value of flexibility is made of two important components. First component is that, for instance, if you have a flexible contract compared to flat contract, you understand the difference, flexible and flat. Flat means that on a daily basis you get the same volume of gas. And usually these flat volumes have 100% take-or-pay. So you take this gas or you not take it gas, but you pay for it anyway. But if you have a flexible contract, for instance, you may take zero volume of gas for one day, and next day you may take more gas. And but this differential is like you have to take annual contract volume divided by number of days per 365, and plus another 10-15% on a daily basis. It's such a huge flexibility. This flexibility allows our clients to save costs over storing gas in storages, and make also savings in transporting this gas to the place of their destination. So, it's interesting that the word flexibility is often used by journalists to say that, for instance, that Russians are not flexible, Gazprom contracts are not flexible, while contracts of Norwegians are flexible. The Norwegians are flexible with their. In fact, when Norwegians sell gas at a hub price, they're taking all flexibility out of the contracts. So there is zero flexibility. While we offer at least 3 or 4 types of flexibility. It's a makeup gas, it's a difference between the seasonal differences. There's also flexibility offered on a daily basis. We made a study, for instance, in order to find out what is the, say, roughly. It's because you have to take individual contracts to evaluate the price of this flexibility, and to try to estimate what is the how much you can get if you have a flexible contract in terms of your enhanced arbitrage opportunities. That means that if you have a flexible contract, you have that means that your deliveries are met, your demand is met by 100%. But on the days when hub prices are very low, and you know what is the price of your incoming gas under long-term contract, you basically can buy the gas at the cheapest price. Well, if you have a flat contract for, say, 75, 80, or 85% of your annual demand, you have no choice. You have to go to the market and buy extra volumes. And if you we compared arbitrage opportunities between buffer prices and prices on the TTF for 3 years. And basically, we found out if you have a kind of a random choice of a gas, you can make from about something like from $8 to $14 of profit in arbitrage. But you can maximize this profit. You have a flexible contract because you always have an opportunity to buy the cheapest gas, and in this sense, you can your profit will be from arbitrage will be from $15 to $23 on the annual basis, depending on the percentage of a flexible portion of your deliveries. So it means that up close to $10 per 1,000 cubic meters you can get simply due to enhanced arbitrage opportunities if you have a flat contract. Another savings that you make, it's your ability to save cost of seasonal storage. We, for instance, estimated that in 2012 we take 30 tariff plants for storages and find out that on average cycle of injecting gas and taking gas out of a storage costs about $70 per 1,000 cubic meters on average for this 29 tariff plants. And this is we compared these different plants and came to it's $64 per 1,000 cubic meters on average in savings that you make based on these tariff plans. But it's very important. But if you try to estimate value flexibility, you also have to understand that not all gas goes into storages because a certain part of gas is being consumed directly, and only a certain portion of this gas goes into storages. We looked at the consumption pattern for major European countries over several years, and we have taken the optimal storage utilization model. It means that the volumes of gas pumped into storages and taken out of the storages are equal. That means that these areas above blue line and below line are the same. and find out, for instance, that countries like France, countries like France, 30% of gas has to go through storages, while in other countries like Spain, for instance, are only 12%. But on average, your savings for European market are about $21 per 1,000 cubic meters if you use flexible supply contracts. In addition to seasonal flexibility, there is also short-term flexibility. That flexibility is for instance, if you buy gas on hubs, your profile of your weekly consumption is like your demand goes down over the weekend and increases, and it's highest on Monday and Wednesday. So you have to pay for capacity that you will not be using in full, because if you use the capacity in full and divide it by the volume of gas that's being pumped through this capacity, you're basically paying the cheapest price in case you use 100% of capacity. But if and this information comes from Gazprom. Gazprom is a major infrastructure company in Holland, and this data you can find it on the internet site. That's hours of flexible hours that they offer. So if you, for instance, book for 9,000 hours of capacity, your cost is $11. It means the difference between the use of 100% of capacity. You basically have to pay $11 more, and if you use 7,000 hours, you pay additional price of about $14 per 1,000 cubic meters. So if you add all the seasonal flexibility, cost of short-term flexibility, there's also short-term upstream flexibility that, for instance, British Gas pays to producers for a price of, for instance, a 10% daily production swing is about $4 per 1,000 cubic meters. So if you add all these components of flexibility, you basically come that it's no less than $40 per 1,000 cubic meters, and this, to large explain, and this explains the difference between the contract prices and the prices on the hubs. Hubs offer a lower quality product. And for instance, I can explain in a like a more easy to understand way. For instance, if you are renting a car, for instance, you can rent a car with a driver, and you can rent a car without a driver. You clearly understand that renting a car with a driver, basically you have to pay more for such a service. If you rent a car without a driver, you're driving a car yourself. But what's happening now that, for instance, if one of our clients or regulators or European politicians are demanding Gazprom, you have to lower the price, your contract price to the level of a hub price. It's the same as to say that you have to, the price of renting a car with a driver should be the same as renting a car without a driver. You clearly understand that you can do this once, you can do it twice, but on maybe a third or fourth time, simply service of a driver of renting a car with a driver simply disappears because there's no economic sense to provide such a service. I won't go into. There are also a lot of other methods of evaluating seasonal flexibility. But we believe that the methodology that we have developed is much better than those that is traditionally used. It basically takes the difference between prices in winter and in summer, and if such a flexibility is offered, it estimates the price differential that you make by by receiving this seasonal spread. In fact, why this method is not say efficient, because it does not catch up requirements for storage that come that are not come from market signals, but are basically requirements that are set up by regulators, because regulators in European countries, they demand that major suppliers in Europe has to keep stocks of gas, for instance, that will be enough to meet 50-year maximum or 20-year maximum in certain countries. And this has nothing to do with market mechanisms. By the way, market mechanisms, in many cases, in terms of gas, do not function properly. And for instance, there is no commercial signal to build up seasonal storages, for instance. There's no commercial signal. Moreover, for instance, if you are building storage, building stocks of gas based on market signals, so you basically have to do the following. For instance, if a price curve goes down, you get a signal to not to make stocks, because in several months you can buy this gas cheaper, or even you have a signal to sell off of the existing stocks, because if you sell them now, you can get volumes of gas and put them into storages at a lower price. In a similar way, if price goes up, or if a forward curve goes up, there's a signal for you to start building stocks. But natural gas industry is getting more and more like farming, like agriculture. But it becomes absolutely unpredictable, because 60% of demand is driven by weather conditions. For instance, in Europe at the moment, 60% of gas is used in the commercial and residential sector, where demand largely depends on weather conditions, and these conditions are absolutely unpredictable. And no market signal will tell you that in 3 weeks there could be a cold snap, for instance, like it was in UK in February, March last year, and in January, February in United States this year, when prices skyrocketed. And as there's no market signal to build stocks of gas in the United States, because these changes of weather were were absolutely unpredictable. There's a lot of mathematicians who are also involved in evaluating seasonal spreads and price flexibility, but there's one drawback in their methodology, that they are basically assuming that prices are that natural gas is an effective market where everything is supply demand signals are creating a perfect environment for such estimates. It's not the case for gas industry. Gas industry is clearly a market freak, in the sense that market mechanisms do not function properly in that industry. So, problem at the moment for Gazprom and for our clients as well is this mismatch between contract price and hub price. Usually, contract price, as I said already, is higher than hub price, and this creates problems in the sense that we have to adjust our contracts. It's very interesting to find out what is that decision, for instance, of our clients to sell at the hub prices. Is something like which is dictated by the forces of the market, or it's a result of, I should say, a deliberate, straightforward actions of the regulators. Our experience shows that liquidity on the hubs and decisions that force that basically enforce hub pricing as a industry. As an industry standard comes from regulators. For instance, liquidity on TTF at the moment, the most liquid hub at the continent, came up as a result of a decision of a regulator that Gazprom has to sell 50% of its output at the hubs. Even in countries like Poland, when there are no hubs or no liquid hubs, regulators require that national companies has to sell from 30 to 50% or even sometimes 100% of the gas that they bought from us at hub prices. And this creates something that I've already called mismatch. If there is obligation to sell gas at a hub price, and as I described it already earlier, that hub prices tend to be lower than contract prices because of this, they don't have a premium for security of supply and flexibility. As a result, we have this mismatch and are forced to renegotiate our contracts. In Germany, for instance, there is no regulations at the end user for end user prices, or there is no obligation to sell gas at hub prices. Bundesnetzagentur, it's a national regulator, has basically created a system which encourages small companies with like 3 computers to effectively compete with large guys like E.ON, Rugas, RWE, or Vingas. And this is a result simply of the fact that the value that offered by these large companies, consolidators, is not taken by the market. It's not evaluated by the market, but the companies with access to small volumes of hub gas or Kusha gas, they are basically they would outcompete these giants, putting them in a very their position, and it also puts Gazprom in a position that we have to make a very tough choice to support our clients or not to support our clients. But if we don't support our clients, they simply die. By basically bringing our clients back into profitability through exposed price rebates, we are providing for security of the European gas market, because without these guys who are building seasonal stocks, who are consolidating volumes, structuring deliveries, this industry is not able to function properly. This is also an interesting example that shows that despite the fact that we hear often that our clients have to sell gas at prices below contract prices, in reality, hub prices for different types of customers in Europe, they are higher than existing hub prices. This is partly due to the fact that there are certain costs involved to selling to small customers. But in fact, our clients sell not at a hub price, but at a hub plus something price. There are different ways as how to adjust to our prices to this price mismatch. If it differs whether you prefer to keep oil indexation in place or you don't want to keep oil indexation in place. In the first case, what can you do in order to decrease this differential between oil indexed and hub prices? It's introduce small partial indexing of hub indexing of long-term contracts to hub prices, like introduction spot component into price setting. There would be also introduction of price corridors that bring together prices of contract prices to the hub level. Something like S-curve in the old type Japanese contracts. It could be also decreasing P0. It's to the hub level, but the most efficient way, as I believe, is removing flexibility from the contracts. But let me also explain to you why we have to keep oil indexation. And we cannot agree on a selling gas under long-term contracts, but these contracts will be directly hub indexed. This is a good example of why it's not possible. You know that, for instance, in case for the supply of gas under long-term contracts, an important part of this contract is take-or-pay obligations of the clients, because there is no need to get involved in the lengthy 20, 30-year relationship with a buyer and take a firm obligations to deliver gas to this buyer, unless there is a certain obligation on the side of the buyer to take certain volumes of gas, irrespective of the fact it needs them or do not need them. But if pricing is linked to hubs, this changes the balance of interests between the buyer and seller, in the sense that, for instance, the buyer may take as much volume on a daily basis as it likes, maybe also may take gas that this buyer do not need, and dump this gas on the hub. As a result, next day, the head price will be lower and the whole portfolio of gas will be also low. So such policies, so this linking of contract gas to hubs and changing, simply taking the whole contracts but changing the formula, putting instead of oil in this formula hub price, result in a situation that basically this fragile balance of interest between buyer and seller disappears, and a buyer gets in a position that it gets a chance to manipulate prices, which is not acceptable to a seller. As I've said, the most efficient way of decreasing the differential between hub and contract prices is to take flexibility out of the contracts. But because our clients, they all, at the moment, not in a good shape, they are basically have problems, and when we offer them an option that will take flexibility out of the contracts, they tell us that they will not survive, simply because this will be another blow to them, in addition to the fact that they are a target of the European Commission that says the that we don't care about the fortune of national champions. If they die, this is how the market works. There is no need for them. But if there is no need for them, then there'll be the end to our existing portfolio of long-term contracts. And only these contracts, they are really providing for security of deliveries in Europe, because Europe is getting more and more import dependent. There is indigenous production of gas in Europe decreases. But if we take flexibility, that will be another blow to our partners in business, and they may not survive. So this kind of vicious circle that is being at the moment on the European market, and there are ways how to go around, but I simply will not tell you this, how we can, because they may be accused of a lot of bad things. Let's come to a subject of market failure in the natural gas industry, because this subject, this market failure basically is a very important part of the industry relationship. Do you know, by the way, what is market failure? You have to go. You have to your MBA course. You should have studied this market failure.
I think I do.
You haven't heard anything about market failure?
Failures, of course.
You know.
There are inefficiencies and you don't have the right
Okay.
price of supply.
No, that means that market functions, it produces price, but this price is not Pareto optimum price. It means that there is a systemic overproduction of certain commodities and systemic underproduction of certain commodities, despite the fact that market functions. But this functionality is a result that a price which is set up by the market is not Pareto optimal. It does not support optimal allocation of resources. Which optimal allocation of resources is the major advantage of a free market economy compared to, say, planned economy, whatever. Let's look at look at what's happening, for instance, in the United States at the moment. There's a lot of, if you look at the American market and look at the prices of this market, you will see that for a while, I think a year or two, prices were even $2 per BTU. And for Canadian gas, it was $1 per BTU. That brought a majority of the analysts to the conclusion that shale gas is something that is extremely cheap gas. But while this does not correspond to realities, price of gas of shale gas is low in the United States. Maybe it's not as low at the moment because of this unpredictable, extremely cold weather at the moment. The current price is $6.3 or $4 per BTU. But if you look at the forwards, to 1 or 2 year forwards, they are still hovering of something around $4 per BTU. Real cost, Gazprom hired an American consultant who made a study of the cost of shale gas production based on the survey of 10 major shale gas producers that are public companies, and therefore they are reporting their financials and their costs and other details of business to the Federal Securities Commission. And the result of this survey is that for more than from year 2005 and up to, say, to the recent year 2011, full cost of shale dry gas production were $6 per MBTU. So it means that for more than 5 years, prices of producing dry shale gas in the United States are below average cost of its production. Full costs also include prospecting. As you can see in the chart, there is also data on the interest rates, various tax components of this cost structure. So we see an interesting example when costs of producing a commodity are higher than market prices, and this creates real problems for dry gas producers. As a result, what we see now in the United States is drilling for dry gas. There's no drilling for dry gas at the moment. There is only drilling for liquids, for gas liquids, and for gas oil. For shale oil. That means that whole industry the whole industry of dry gas in a state of coma, because there are no incentives to produce gas. But if there were no market failure, say in natural gas and in pricing based on supply and demand, what would be the reaction of the market? The reaction of the market will be that simply production of shale gas will decrease. This oversupply of gas will disappear, and prices will go up in order to meet requirements for new investment cycle in that industry. But this is not happening simply because gas is produced in ever increasing quantities. Gas is produced in increasing quantities. And these volumes of gas are still producing a downward effect on the existing prices, simply because gas became a waste product of production of liquids and shale oil. So what we see example of this bundle production, there is optimization in favor of liquids and shale oil, and although we have a market price which is clearly derived from supply and demand, the result of competition and other things available in this market, but the price is clearly a market failure. And I describe this market failure as a lack of mechanisms of adjusting supply to price signals that leads to a wrong level of output. Gas as a byproduct of oil is not a self-sufficient commodity. What happens when you, for instance, when there is a market failure? What is the traditional treatment for market failure?
Regulation.
Absolutely. It's a government intervention and like providing subsidies to production that is considered to be publicly that is increasing social welfare and decreasing supply of a certain commodity that is considered to be producing a negative effect on social welfare, for instance, like production of cigarettes or emissions. So, but oil indexation, for instance, in case of malfunctioning market, which is when the adjustment mechanisms of supply and demand do not work properly, as for instance we have in the shale gas, because at the moment there's no drilling for dry gas. So all drilling went to wet gas, and the production of this wet gas in certain quantities is triggering production of a huge amount of of a dry gas as a byproduct of this production, or added bonus to this production. And as a result, these volumes are producing a depressive effect on the prices. It's not a normal market. Oil indexation, in this case, is a perfect solution to the, because it does not require government intervention. And also, because we know that any form of government interventions creates maybe more problems that it resolves, because government intervention, as a result, what we see ends up what is called government failure. It's creating new distortions on the market rather than resolving them. Another aspect of market failure in natural gas is the instability of prices. This instability of prices creates a problem if you need to have an investment cycle of maybe from 40 to 50 years, as is required for development of large fields, for instance. And if you have a project that requires billions of dollars, and your revenues are uncertain, then simply there is a need for government intervention to support such long-term projects. For instance, at the moment in UK there is a nuclear power plant that being under construction, and financial modeling has shown that this project is not sustainable because of the existing subsidies to electricity prices. There will be not sufficient cash flow to support investments for 50 years, and as a result, UK government said, okay, we will simply buy output of this plant and subsidize them from the budget. This is a solution. But again, this was the European Commission was against this extremely. On the other hand, it is a good example in the United States where I think it was the first project to build a nuclear power plant. I don't remember where, but I think Obama decided to provide $6.5 billion in government guarantees to the banks, so they will give this money to this plant because otherwise it will not be built. A similar thing is happening now in gas industry, because there are no incentives to give to lend money under 20, 30, 40 for 20 to 40 year period, if there is no guarantee that that prices will be not more or less predictable and firm. But if you have oil indexation in your business plan, you will definitely get a bank loan, because banks take prices for oil as something quite predictable, and there are forecasts for oil prices. Again, we know that they may be wrong, but at least from the point of view of risk assessment, if your selling price is linked to oil, you will get a bank loan. If your price is linked to hub price, no one will give you a loan, because hub prices, it's such an unpredictable thing. It may be even minus. So what kind of problem it creates? It creates, I mean, if we, Gazprom or maybe other major suppliers agree to a pricing based on supply and demand like United States, well, we will not be able to get support from the side of the banks to support our major projects. And oil indexation, in this respect, is a much better solution to much better remedy failure of for the market failure, then any kind of government intervention in the form of a government subsidized price, because that will come from the budget, from the taxpayers' money, or in a similar way, like providing guarantees to the banks via government secured loans. So, oil indexation is still an important, vital part of the business. But by the way, it was interesting that it was noticed not by me, but for instance, by Financial Times, that in 2013 there were only six final investment decisions approved to produce liquefied natural gas, and all these six feeds were in the United States. But the United States will not be able to provide enough volumes of gas to the whole world. There are also Qatarian projects, there are a lot of Australian projects, there is a project in Mozambique, Africa, places all over the world. If this project will not come on stream over the next 2-3 years, after year 2020, we'll have a clear deficit of natural gas in the form of liquefied natural gas on the market. And only oil indexation in this sense, because it does not require any government participation, provides a perfect solution, purely market, which is more important, a market solution to the market failure that comes out from instability of prices. Another important type of market failure in natural gas is the existence of a large number of, not large number, but a small number of suppliers. You all know that if number of suppliers is small, then these suppliers are dominant suppliers, so they really had a good chance to do what? Cartel or price manipulation. Price manipulation. And if you have pricing based on supply and demand, this produces a perfect system for such kind of manipulations, because you can decrease supply to a certain market, and as a result, because there is no choice, prices will go up, and large dominant supplier may basically extract a lot of additional value using his market power. But what happens in case you have an oil index contract? Your market power as a major supplier, for instance, Gazprom is a major supplier to a certain number of markets, is absolutely neutralized, because Gazprom is not able to influence the price of oil or oil products that are part of the formula. So, price on the market, when pricing is based on supply and demand, is a pricing where it's not Gazprom says the price. The price. It's a formula that says formula that's mutually agreed between a buyer and seller for a certain period of time. There's also certain provisions for or triggers for this price revision or formula revision. But if there's a formula, in this formula there is a certain composition of a basket of competing commodities like I don't know, gas oil or heavy HFO, heavy fuel oil, something. These products have a market price, global market price, and no major gas supplier is able to influence these prices. And this gives buyer of gas a security that Gazprom will not be able to manipulate prices. There are certain countries, like for instance Finland, where price is basically where Gazprom is 100% supplier. But there is no need to bring in other suppliers because market is too small. There are Baltic countries where Gazprom is the only supplier. Politicians there think that they will be able to get the prices. They will never get the better prices. But oil indexation is really something that really gives a guarantee that there will be no price manipulation. And finally, it's also important to understand things like, for instance, issue of externalities. You know what is externalities in market failure? No answer. Externalities in market failure. Do you know what's externalities in market failure? Externalities mean that although, for instance, what kind of externalities we have? For instance, renewables. It's a kind of externality. If a market is not able, will provide no signals for increasing share of renewables in the energy mix, because the renewables require subsidies. Without subsidies, simply there will be no production of these renewables. But there are also certain things like that could not be, as I was already mentioned, this could not be supported by market forces, or could not be expressed in one or other form of market signal. Things like, for instance, security of supply. Security of supply basically has no value. Only in case the security is lost, then you realize its value. But markets tell you nothing about security of supply. What's happening? Security of supply has its extremely high value, but markets, for instance, another good example of an externality. Well, no, that was a banking crisis in United States and in Europe. If things were let to go in line with simply with the free market forces, what will be the result? The result will be that major banks will go bankrupt. Major banks will go bankrupt, and they will create a domino effect on the whole economy. And there was so-called idea that certain banks should get government support because they are too big to fail. Yeah. A similar thing has to be taken into consideration in the gas industry, because what I've said already, that the gas industry has a two-tier structure, two-level structure. One level is the big midstreamers who are consolidating volumes that come from exporters. They are setting up seasonal stocks. They are structuring deliveries. They are mixing and matching. But these guys are under threat, because if you have pricing based on supply and demand, then small guys with 3 computers are basically are winners, and they are outcompeting big guys, or so-called national champions. And these also national champions were a target of the European Commission, because they thought that national champions is they are a source of extremely high prices. But if they die, there will be no gas industry in Europe. And we are supporting these guys. Oil indexation is a way how we can bring these guys back to life by decreasing pricing, giving them exposed rebates. But definitely the politicians in Europe has to take into consideration these externalities in gas. Otherwise, this burden of keeping these guys alive, or providing them with funds in order to survive, this burden will be too high. Okay, so I think I already explained you that why, if there are long-term investments, that if they are not supported by say oil indexation, then there's really problems with raising finance. This is a statement made by Almunia, EU Commissioner for Competition, who said there is a shale gas, such a wonderful shale gas, and the market has changed. Yeah, market, and there's no rationale for oil indexation anymore. This is absolutely incorrect statement, because this rationale is still there. For instance, if you take the energy mix of the EU 27 countries, it's based on the Eurostat energy balances. You'll find out that although there is no competition between oil products and natural gas in power generation at the moment, simply because the share of oil is less than 2%. But there is still quite a strong inter-fuel competition in the industrial sector. In certain countries it's like 50-50. And what is more important, also in the commercial and residential sector, where share of gas is the share of gas and oil products in many countries is very close to each other. For instance, a good example could be, for instance, if you take, for instance, industry, you will see now that Italy and Poland, in UK, oil products and natural gas compete, and this fully responds to the fundamentals of the market, contrary to what Mr. Ramonio says, that it does not respond to the fundamentals of the market. It responds. Simply, it's not a professional to say it in this way. And if you carry commercial residential sector, for instance, in countries like Germany, share of natural gas in consumption is 31%, while share of petroleum products is 33%. There's a lot of competition, In Turkey, by the way, there's a lot of competition in power generation as well between natural gas and oil. That means that the principles of substitution value, they are still there, and they're still alive, and there's no reason to review them, especially taking into consideration the fact that current markets are getting more and more dysfunctional, and the only way to preserve production in natural gas is to keep oil indexation in place. That's my story. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So now we have a round of question and answers. We have 30 to 40 minutes, I see, so I'll give the floor to Sergey.
Dr. Komlev, thank you for your insightful remarks. It's a pleasure to have you here. My question is, with regards to we often talk about the internal market, the common internal market, unified. What is Gazprom's view? What is your personal view on the gas target model, which actually creates market zones?
My personal view. Well,
we see not unified market, but market zones dividing it.
Market in Europe is really, you know that this target, I think that target model has to be created by this year, 2014, but it's still a long way, because if you look at prices, for instance, of electricity, they are not converging, they are diverging. In a similar way, if you look at the end user prices in the most countries of Europe, there is Denmark, where prices are maybe 5 times higher than in Germany. There are a lot of other countries with this. There's no harmonization, and I actually think that to a large extent plans to create a common market, although we have nothing against creation of common market. There's a lot of elements of naive idealism, I should say, when there was the idea that, okay, market functions in potato production, so it will perfectly function in electricity and natural gas. This is not the case. It's an extremely complicated market. You have to understand that it may take a long time to make this market function. And even if you take a case of the United States, where we have a perfect architecture of the market, because there are thousands of independent producers of gas, there's thousands of independent buyers, there's a perfectly developed transportation system. All the necessary laws and regulations are there, but market is dysfunctional. Market is already has, as I said, already brought dry gas production into a state of coma. So market reforms are really something extremely complicated. There is no standard way how to do things, and what actually I believe that you have to put if you are using conflicting methods. For instance, on one hand you are saying we need to enhance competition and develop free markets. On the other hand, Europeans are basically developing a sort of a planned economy within their own energy sector, like a reincarnation of a German Democratic Republic in Germany in one single industry, which is called the renewables sector, because there is a guaranteed offtake of electricity from. There is a feed-in tariff, so it's a planned economy. On one hand, you have a planned economy. On the other hand, you try to develop free market forces. They don't match together. As a result, there's a collapse of power generation. This is a vital part of the industry, of the stable and secure production of electricity in Germany. So there were too many conflicting elements in this mix that is called reforms in Europe. And therefore, at the moment, they have produced a total mess. And this is not my conclusion. That's what conclusion that I hear every time when I come to Europe, and the Europeans are saying this themselves.
Thank you. Other questions? I will ask you to speak into the microphone so that we can have your question recorded.
Hi. Thank you for your presentation. I kind of have a hypothetical question, but it's certainly not outside the realm of possibility. And that is, if another Russian competitor is allowed to compete on the European market, will they price their oil, will they index their gas to oil prices? Will they go to the spot market? And if so, how does it affect Gazprom's future strategy?
There's always a problem of free riders. For instance, our Norwegian colleagues basically think that, for instance, the fact is that prices in Europe at the moment are not set up by supply and demand or by market equilibrium, although some definitely influence on supply and demand on these prices, but the baseline is set up by long-term oil index contracts, because they dominate at the moment of the market. Definitely, you can sell at the hub price at the moment, and this price will be close to will be because it's not set by the market, but is set up by Gazprom. It will be convenient to buyers. But if this number of these free riders who will be using the existing price levels will reach a kind of critical critical number, then in this case, prices may collapse, or even they may go down or may go up. We don't know. Basically, we don't know what is the equilibrium price for gas in Europe at the moment.
Do you think the U.S. The expected increase in U.S. exports, export terminals that are currently being set up in the U.S. LNG gas export terminal, will they help in rectifying this dysfunctionality in the U.S. market as U.S. prices will come close to other regions' prices?
It's very hard to make any predictions when it comes to natural gas. But anyway, there was a study in the United States that shows that basically it's a lot of shale gas reserves. So even if there'll be a lot of gas will be exported, that still will not affect domestic price. I was asking if I have a chance to ask American consultants and European consultants what they think whether this price anomaly, I call it price anomaly, it's really a price anomaly, it will stay for how long? But looks like that there'll be no change up prior to year 2030 maybe, because there's still a lot of drilling for wet gas. And therefore, I think this anomaly will stay for a long time. But surprisingly, that at the moment, first of all, don't know this anomaly may be at $3, $2, $5, at $7. But at the moment, for instance, it's exporting of gas from the United States to Europe is already not economical. Because if you take a price of $6.5, for instance, on Henry Hub, you have add maybe another $1 to bring this gas to regasification terminal, Shenir, for instance. Then Shenir will charge another $3 for liquefaction. Then you will need $2 to bring this gas to Europe. Then maybe you need $0.50 to market this gas in Europe. It will be more than $12 per BTU. There's even no calculator.
It's all 15, I think.
Oh, 15. So it looks like that at the moment the only market that you can make profit is to deliver gas to Asia. But Asia will require additional maybe 2-3 BCM because will be additional costs, transportation costs. So I don't believe that there will be huge inflow of inexpensive shale gas to Europe.
Michael?
Last year, Statoil had switched some of its contracts, especially to Northern Europe, towards hub prices. Was that in their interest? And if not, or if it is, if something you compare Gazprom to Statoil in terms of why Statoil made the switch?
We don't comment on the actions of our competitors, but it's my personal view. But I think that Norwegians, at the moment, they are acting like gas passengers. Do you know what gas passenger?
Explain it.
Passenger, it's not the person who is driving the car, but he sits in the car.
Like a free ride.
Yeah, no, certain free rider, yes. They are gas passengers at the moment, and think that they could make good money if they. But also, I think that they have signed for the common energy space with Europe, signed agreement. Therefore, they have to strictly follow requirements of the European Commission in terms of competition enhancement, for instance. And as at the moment, they became a major supplier of natural gas to UK, for instance. And they're afraid that if they'll be using some kind of formula-based pricing, then they will be accused of manipulating the market. So they prefer to be like good guys compared to bad guys, Russians.
Max?
I'd like to say thank you for your presentation. It's very interesting. I have a couple of questions, but we're talking about other competitors in the gas market. How do you think the competition, if you can even call it that, will play out between southern border gas suppliers, namely Azerbaijan and Gazprom? They do compete for market space in a couple areas, at least initially. Do you think that Azerbaijan will choose a pricing formula, or has chosen a pricing formula, which will allow them to undercut Gazprom? And is Gazprom going to play any sort of response?
Well, commercial contracts are not subject to public releases, but rumors that I've heard, at least, that contracts that were signed by Azeris in Europe, they are all oil indexed. And but also, we don't think that creation of the southern corridor and the gas from Azerbaijan will change a thing in Europe. If there'll be huge inflow of Iranian gas or gas from Turkmenistan, we could think that something may change, may happen. But let's look at Shah Deniz 2 field. Shah Deniz 2 field, if you if you're interested in getting details, it's one of the most complicated fields in the world, in the sense that it's two semi-floating platforms. These platforms can only function when there is no wind, and for 30% of time, especially in winter, there is always a strong wind there. Also, its gas is produced from a well which is has a depth of 6 kilometers. It's an enormous pressure at the end of this well, and therefore there are something like 50 kilometers of piping in order that is set up in order to decrease pressure. If something, it's extremely complicated project. I actually think that it will be functional maybe for 60% of time only, at the best. There's also a special. The problem is that in order to keep this platform operational, you also need to have special heating to the pipes. So it's an extremely complicated project, and we actually think that it will not be functioning properly because of technical problems simply and complexity. Another thing, if you look at the routing of the TANAP and what's the part that we use in Europe? It's TAP. It's not going. This pipeline does not go to Baumgarten because if it goes to Baumgarten, we believe that there could be some competition. It basically goes to Italy. And when it goes to Italy, it's a compensation for losses that Italy made because Algerians has taken up to 10 BCM of gas from their supplier to Italy. So it's a compensation for the loss of Algerian gas. It has not changed the balance, has not increased, given new volumes to the market.
Svetlin?
Anyway, I'd like to take you away for a minute from pricing issues. You mentioned a couple of times negative perceptions of Gazprom being the bad guys. is seen by the West, do you think that should be targeted towards high-level officials or more towards the public? Because we do know that, of course, the public has influence on public policies. Thank you.
My experience shows that there are, for instance, certain newspapers and there are certain magazines, and they are good guys, journalists, who may come to you. You spend 3 hours talking to them, and you tell all the stories. But as a result, in the newspapers, you see some like fact twisting. Some. I personally worked many years ago for the Economist Intelligence Unit, which is part of the Economist Group. And I know, for instance, and my boss was Edward Lucas, who is absolutely crazy person. And it's in Russian it's called "nilechitsa." So what can you do? But basically, I don't think that these personalities could survive in that business because there is a certain demand for them. There are definitely geopolitical interests behind, for sure. I think that you cannot do nothing to that perception, because you can spend a lot of time telling people that this is this, this and that. They're not bad guys. We're doing this, this, and this. But for instance, we already decided that there's certain mass media representatives whom there's no need to talk at all, because they will never deliver your message in such a distorted way to show that you are an idiot, for instance.
Excuse me, I will pick up on his question. So one thing sure is public opinion and journalists. What about your activity in Brussels?
Public opinion is set up by journalists, by the way.
Yes,
but basically,
yes,
what we read in newspapers.
Yes, no, of course. But I think that Svetarin was also asking you about changing or trying to change the perception of high-ranking officials, say in Brussels. I know, for example, that in December Gazprom has opened a new GR office there. So is this? Are you trying to tackle the problem this way?
I think this office involved in personal defense in the surrounded by enemies, something like this. No, I don't think that they would be able to do anything. Well, there is a lot of I'm also part of the discussions with the so-called European Gas Advisory Council. There are also meetings of the experts, various kind of experts. Definitely, you know, that mindset of all these people who are Western experts is set up, basically is set up in the sense that they say we would like competition, free markets, transparency, and there are other like mantras that they repeat all the time. But I think we've done a lot explaining, and especially to members of the Commission, that gas is special industry and it should be treated in a special way. For instance, we still believe, for instance, that oil indexation could not be, because for a while European Commission has a decision to outlaw oil indexation in the contracts. So it's a criminal activity, something like that. Not a criminal activity. It's basically a remedy to market failure, for market failure. And for instance, there was a plan by European Commission to issue a report on pricing. And what I heard initially said, we will criticize oil indexation, it's outdated, something like this. But as a result, and I looked at this document, oil indexation was mentioned, not mentioned at all. And it was said that problems come out from the different taxation schemes. It's a lot of, and the prices has grown in Europe because there were a lot of new taxes introduced. something like this. So there are some changes in perception and better understanding things like fact that really gas industry is special and maybe what oil indexation is closer to Pareto optimal pricing than the existing semi-market or malfunctioning market.
Max? Students have priority, sorry.
We talked a lot about European pricing, and I was wondering if you could say a few words about the dialogue that goes on between Gazprom and I guess China, and why there's such a dispute over the pricing formula.
There's no dispute over pricing formula. There's a dispute over price level. No, it's not a dialogue. It's a business negotiations. To be more precise. Well, we have to understand that deliveries of Russian gas to China will take place no earlier than 2018. What it means? That means that, and at the moment, the prices on the Chinese domestic market are regulated. So they're set by the government, like in Russia. And for Chinese, Chinese have to make a really tough decision. What will be their domestic prices in the year 2018? So they have to say it several years before, how they view what will be price levels on the Chinese market in the year 2018. Because basically it's not possible to get this amount of gas from Russia, it's like 40 BCM, and it will be subsidized in a way. For instance, LNG deliveries are being subsidized that come through the regasification terminals to China. For instance, there was an estimate that PetroChina alone has paid $42 billion in subsidies in the year 2012 to support to cover the differential between the incoming and domestic prices. So Chinese has to decide what will be the level of domestic regulated, I guess, will still regulated prices in China in the year 2018. Not an easy question, but they also understand that without such a decision, there will be no construction of pipelines. So they have to make this choice.
Jack?
Clock is ticking.
Again, so thank you very much for your presentation. Just to talk a little bit more about oil indexation, but in a slightly different way. How much do you think Gazprom's pricing policy is actually not only influenced by competition on export markets, but also actually the fundamental shift in gas production that is taking place right now, the move to Yamal and the development of the Yamal mega project, also as well when you're looking at exports to China as well, the development of the Eastern Gas program, new gas production centers. This is a very, very capital intensive period for Gazprom. Apparently, I read not long ago that the Yamal mega project is still only the third most expensive gas production project in the world. The other two that are more expensive are Australian LNG projects that are also aimed at the Asian market where oil indexation continues. You already mentioned Chardonnay's, again a very capital intensive, very difficult project where they're also pursuing oil indexation. Undoubtedly, the new gas production in East Siberia that will be exported to China probably will also be oil indexed. And maybe in that context, we can see that there is a consistency with maybe Gazprom's desire to continue oil indexed prices for its European exports if that gas is going to be produced on Yamal, where it's clearly going to be more expensive. The production costs will be higher than, say, for Qatar, which is a competitor in the European market, let's say.
Qatar is not competitive because all Qatarian LNG is gone from the European market. It's not all in Asia. Your question is that, once again, made in 3 words.
Gazprom wants high prices because its production is quite expensive at the moment. New projects. Makes commercial sense.
Yeah, it's well, as I've said already, that if you have a long-term projects and you don't have a security, you don't have a security of your cash flow, then in this sense, it's very hard to make any investments. And, therefore, we support all indexation, and I think it's all it's in the interest not only of the producers, because if you take, for instance, a look at the break-even costs of Australian producers, they cost like $16-17 per BTU, and they could be only marginally profitable if they will be able to sell it to the Japanese market at $20 per BTU. Therefore, I think it's in the interest of all producers, and not only producers but also consumers, to pay a price that will be actually supportive of the investment cycle in the gas industry. Because look at the first slide that I've showed you, one of the first slides. For instance, in order to resume your investment cycle, you have to go to the market and buy labor. You have to buy, like maybe food, metals, chemicals, other things. They all has grown in price by 3 times. If your output price of your output has grown less than 3 times, you may have problems because you will not be able to resume your investment cycle. And therefore, and there's no guarantee that pricing, which is based on supply and demand for several reasons that are already outlined, would be able to provide this price. Definitely, what will happen? People say, okay, this is how market works. Maybe in 10 years, you will be able to resume production. But it's not a good answer. Okay, so we have to wait for 10 years. Then will be the market will readjust in the sense that it will say, okay, we need your gas. But at that time, price maybe for gas will be $40 per BTU. Who knows? Markets are not perfect. They need certain adjustment. And the adjustment that we offer through via oil indexation, I think is the best mechanism that it does not require government intervention.
Thank you.
Svetlin?
All of us are very much aware of the important role that Ukraine is playing with regards to gas deliveries to Europe, and also the difficult relationship that is being between Gazprom and Naftogaz agreement over the last couple of years. How do you see the current events, and especially the fact that they have decreased sharply their purchases of Russian gas over the recent months?
Well, this decrease was first of all, it's whether it's abnormally warm at the moment in Ukraine. Therefore, there is no great demand for gas. Winter season is over. And I think that it was quite a reasonable move on their side, because the Ukrainians understand that they will not be able to pay for gas that they will be taking from us, and therefore they simply decrease the offtake. It's quite a reasonable move on their side.
Do you see them coming back on prices over 400 and up, or in the long term, do you see them staying at the current level with the discounted price that they managed to get, which was a huge discount on the side of Gazprom? Thank you.
It's not an easy question, really. Well, in terms of this contract allows us to come back to this price of 4,000. But I think it also depends on the developments in Ukraine, because we give them this discount for a simple reason, because we would like to get paid for gas that we deliver to them. If there'll be no payment and the discount will be there, then this gives a good reason to say, why should we, in addition, we give the discount, but we get no payment. But by the way, Ukraine pays for oil products that it consumes. We've never heard of Ukraine not paying for oil or gasoline that they were buying. Why should we be? Especially gas is a kind of special case, because anyone will say, okay, even the price of $260 is extremely high price, because in the United States it's cheaper. Okay, fine, go to the United States and get the
Max?
Hi, this is for you, Connor. Could you comment on how coal plays a role in the pricing scheme? How does cheap coal affect pressures on Gazprom to change the pricing formula?
What I've said already, that I believe in markets, but there is a naive or stupid belief in markets, and there's a kind of a selective approach, or smart approach to markets, saying that okay, markets could be a failure in certain cases, so should we take this into consideration? In the United States, what really happened, we have a clear price anomaly related to shale gas. Shale gas is extremely expensive gas. It's more expensive than conventional gas. But still we have extremely low prices because shale gas is a waste product of oil and liquids production. This is it. But you have to understand, if you have such an anomaly, this anomaly, because we live in a world which is closely interconnected, all the elements interconnected. Shale gas has basically a result in another price anomaly, which is called with the cheap coal, because gas has replaced the coal in power generation in the United States to a certain extent, and there was a lot of cheap coal, and this cheap coal went to Europe. And this cheap coal also, there was another price anomaly which is called renewables. And this combination of these two price anomalies create like a dreadful cocktail, which really ended up in a situation when gas was squeezed out of energy mix in power generation. Though it's not only referred to old, inefficient gas-fired plants, it refers to the most efficient gas-fired plants with a 60% of percent productivity. And we should do our best to decrease this price anomaly. Price anomaly creates a chain of effect all over the value chain.
Fabio?
I'm surprised by the lack of fixed price contract. I mean, I think that a fixed price contract in a multi-currency basket could provide stability for the seller and for the buyer. I mean, like the retail distributor that has 1 or 2 million private clients could give them stability prices. Why there are no fixed contracts at all?
No, there are fixed contracts at the end user market. For instance, what is the problem of mismatch? That we sell gas to our clients. Our clients are midstreamers, large midstreamers. this midstream is still sold to end users. And with the end users, they usually have contracts of a duration for one year and with a fixed price. Now, there is a lot of fixed price contracts. Maybe we'll also start thinking of developing this short-term fixed price contracts.
Michael?
I know between 2006 and 2008, Gas had tried to make a gas exchange, or it was operational, I think, for 2 years, and Medvedev, I believe, was also a big proponent of a gas exchange, I think back in 2011. What do you think the future of functional gas exchange in Russia is?
To be frank, this exchange was set up. It was like a fixtures, like I don't know, Plastin Wall Street, something like. The only need for this exchange was for gas, Межрегион gas to sell gas at a 3, 4, 5% higher price than it was set up by the Federal Commission for FESTE, Federal Commission for Tariffs. It was a simply bureaucratic.
It's a division of Gazprom, though, correct? Межрегион Gas.
Yes, but they also have profit targets. So your profits are set up by the price levels that you get from the commission. You're not able to make more money. But if you have such a vehicle like exchange, there's no regulations for this exchange. So if you charge 5% more, somebody will go and somebody may come and buy this gas. It has nothing to do with the markets. It's a purely. It looks like a market, but it's nothing to do with the market. And I think that it's absolutely irrational to create any kind of exchange if you don't have a free market pricing. Because again, if you have a 90% of prices are set up by the regulator, what will be at best this price? Will this price be slightly higher or lower than the price of which is set up by the regulator? There's no need for such an exchange in the market, which is dominated by the regulatory decisions.
Daniel?
You have shortly mentioned Turkmenistan and Iran. What is your view on how and how fast the current changes in Iran can affect European gas markets?
Well, as for Iran, at the moment, Iran is although it has huge reserves, but it's not importer of gas still. It may take maybe 5 to 10, 15 maybe years for them to develop the industry, but at the moment they are not able to do a thing because of the restrictions and because their assets are frozen. They're not allowed to sell gas for hard currency. They can, for instance, if they sell gas to Turkey, it's a barter at the moment.
Nick?
I have a question about the South Stream, and so the proposed capacity is 63 BCM, and I'm wondering if there's a possibility that it will end up to be a little bit less than that, and what circumstances would cause that to happen?
To have more than 63%, you said?
Less.
Well, Gazprom has plans to create secure routes to deliver gas to Europe and to come around Ukraine. Ukraine transits 80 BCM of gas to Europe at the moment. We don't know what will happen to these deliveries. Hope that nothing will happen. It will be. But if you build a 63 BCM pipeline, which is called South Stream, at the moment, North Stream is not fully utilized. I think in the last year we transited 23 BCM out of 55% of its capacity. So basically, we may go around Ukraine and deliver gas to. There were some problems maybe with Romania because they are getting it from Usakcha, which goes to the south. It's pipeline. But basically, Gazprom has plans to have a secure secure routes to deliver gas to Europe.
Svetlin?
There were certain recent press releases talking about expansion of Nord Stream and reaching the UK. Obviously, there's the MVP there, and we do know that there is only spot trading. Do you think that Gazprom stepping in more prominently on the UK market would allow your European partners to argue that Gazprom should also move away from long-term contracts in other markets as well? Thank you.
There is a decision to build new lines of a South Stream. I don't know what. There's no details at the moment unknown. Well, there's an interesting story. For instance, as you have seen in my presentation, I have not mentioned UK as a market where there's a pricing set up by supply and demand, because it's not true. NBP is a derivative of a Gazprom prices still. But definitely, if you ask my personal view, I think there's no need to build a pipeline to UK. We should build maybe additional capacity of LNG. And the problem with the pipeline gas and hub pricing is that it's a buyer who dictates the prices when you are linked to the buyer via a pipeline. Because if it's a long-term contract, hub pricing, so definitely the price setting is not in the interest of a supplier. So if my personal opinion will have an influence, I would say, well, no, there's no need to build a pipeline to UK. The best thing it will be to maybe build a pipeline in the place Kaliningrad, for instance, like build a 20 million ton LNG plant, and then to look at the market in UK if prices will be more than 70 pence per term. Say, okay, we will deliver gas to you. If it's not too low, there's no need to deliver.
Fabio?
How about setting up storage and trading capabilities in Western Europe and capture for yourself the different spreads like seasonality or have a long-term spreads?
Excuse me, once again.
I mean, you can buy storage capability in Western Europe and make a trading office in London, and then capture via the storage when it's cheap. So you transport from Russia gas to Western Europe using a spare capacity in the market, and then you store this, and when the price is higher, like daily fluctuation or seasonal fluctuation, you sell it at the high moment. Or like if the price goes higher than the price of the long-term contracts, you sell it.
It's a good idea. No. Basically, what I'm saying that what Gazprom export so far was really conservative, in the sense that we are not involved in hub trading at all. We simply we are large wholesale merchant trader that delivers gas to a number of large customers. We're not involved directly in selling gas on a short-term basis. But I think that there will be really necessity for us to develop this kind of business and use. We also have our own storages. We also can utilize the existing capacity. Basically, what I'm saying that we think that current price level is absolutely fair. These mechanisms I think that in essence it's a fraudulent scheme to say that you have to pay for a car with a driver the same price as you pay for the car without driver. We should keep the existing price levels at least. And if there's a chance to sell at a higher price, then why not to sell it? But not in a way that it's damaging our country, because what's happening now, we definitely deliver gas to our daughter companies, for instance, operating in UK, and say, okay, we cannot take any gas but only at the hub price. But their trades are actually really undermining our own sales. And for instance, there is a good strategy that was employed by Algerians when they were selling at the Italian market. They had a certain price level which was set up by their own contracts, and if prices on PSV or other short-term arrangements were available, they were selling at a high price than the price of their contract, and it was not damaging to their deliveries. We are doing something wrong thing when we are providing a lot of cheap gas to our affiliated companies, and they're pursuing their own interest, definitely, but not should do this at the expense of the mother Russia.
Max?
I know that Gazprom's contract with at least Greece is up to be renegotiated in 2016, and I imagine several other contracts that were signed 20, 25 years ago are looking to be renegotiated only because they're expiring. Do you believe Gazprom will be successful in maintaining its position in these contracts, considering the pressure it's facing in South Stream and third-party access, and I guess a move towards spot pricing? Maybe it's too hypothetical, but any comments?
No, at the moment there is a really strong pressure, and what's the problem is that our clients basically they come to us and they tell us what can we do if you don't decrease prices, then we go bankrupt. This is the problem. But and that policy is part of the policy of the European Union, although it's not done like this one. The decision. So there's an enforcement of a certain pricing principles, which are believed to be the best in the world, but which is not, in fact. I think that the Gazprom has a unique and very strong position. Let me show you one slide that I haven't shown to you. What's happening in the moment in the European market? This is the result of the year 2013. Gazprom is the only company able to, the only reliable supplier of gas to Europe. All the rest failed. And the Netherlands, Dutch will also fail this year because there was a decision of the Dutch government to decrease output of the Groningen field by 20 BCM. There's no other gas other than Russian gas. This is the result of the liberal reforms in Europe.
Just one follow-up. But do you think that Gazprom's position will be adequately taken into account, considering what we've talked about, how Gazprom doesn't have the best reputation amongst, EU regulators or its end users, even if its relationship with its wholesalers is good?
Well, relations with wholesalers. Well, the most interesting thing that Gazprom is not trying to is showing its capabilities that it has. For instance, we're actually like in a way that, for instance, all our major clients, the value of all our major clients is basically the fact that they have a contract with Russia. And I think that will be really certain tough decisions with some crazy people, like, for instance, from RWE, simply will cease deliveries to them. That's it. Or we can easily cease deliveries to Lithuania and other countries, and what will happen to them? They will not be able to source gas from anywhere. And the most funny thing that Russophobia, which is a dominant, say, mindset of the politicians there, is will actually result in the fact that they will bring Qatarian LNG, which will be priced, which we know that they are priced at $600 per 1,000 cubic meters compared to our price of $400. And this, by the way, this gives us a chance to have a price renegotiation and increase the price of deliveries to these countries. So it's interesting that fighting with Russia, they're basically shooting in their own leg.
Svetlin, maybe we can have one last question.
What Fabio I'm just referring to what he suggested a few minutes ago, and there were recent press releases of Gazprom intending to buy 50% more underground storage facilities in Germany. Do you see this as a confirmation of Gazprom moving in that direction, becoming a trader?
No, but Wingas is not a trader. They are not in trading, but they basically also large wholesaler that delivers gas to end users. No, I don't think we'll be involved in like trading, large trading activities. But again, it's most interesting part of the story that European Commission tells us. You have your clients. These clients are really, they are in red. So you have to make them bankrupt. This is how the market works, and sell directly to the European market.
Okay, Fabio?
How about investing in a technology to convert cars or trucks from gasoline to gas? I mean, you can start here in Russia with trucks and then export this technology in foreign countries in a big market. And it will definitely help to augment the volumes.
Europe decreased consumption of gas from the year 2010 to year 2013 by something like 30 BCM. But this 30 BCM of demand could be easily reclaimed if we deliver gas to transportation sector. At the moment, transportation sector had zero, I think. Transportation sector is the use of gas in the transportation sector is really small or even insignificant. It's insignificant, less than 2%, I think, of the. That means there is a huge potential, but I don't think that expansion of the, that all these technologies were existent already for maybe 30, 40 years, but still the result was zero. Even in Germany, though there is a lot of efforts made at the moment, number of filling stations less than 1,000, the number of light-duty cars is less than, I don't know, 10,000 maybe. So I think that the only breakthrough in development of natural gas in the transportation sector is the development of a market for heavy-duty trucks, buses, plus bunkering. And for a while, I think we should forget about light-duty vehicles. This is not a solution. And I think that was what was done in Russia at the moment. It's development. A lot of money was put into development, but development of this compressed natural gas feeding stations. I don't think this will not play. Only heavy duty. That's the only way to resolve the because if it comes to heavy duty, it's not a compressed natural gas. It's LNG. LNG as fuel is the best option. For instance, I'm personally involved in one project in Poland at the moment. There's a small company, a family producer of buses, called this company called Salt Bus, and they were bankrupts. But when I heard that they have a model for the only one model, which at the moment is in Europe, of a bus, of a 12-inch bus with a LNG as fuel. We managed to provide them support. At the moment, there's approximately 100 buses like this in Poland. Not anywhere else in Europe, but in Poland. But it's amazing that if you have LNG as fuel, you get the same benefits as you have as when you're using diesel. Time for refilling the bus is 3 minutes compared to 20 minutes for compressed natural gas. Also, there's no need for you to carry heavy bottles on the top of the bus. It also changes there's no need to carry heavy buses, which also requires a lot of additional capacity, and this bus can work for 2 days without refilling. It's a perfect solution. But majors like Daimler, like Mercedes and others, they don't understand this still, which is their mistake.
Thank you, Dr. Komlev. Thank you for your valuable contribution. I would like to come back to your words in the introduction. So you actually did give a very different point of view from those that circulate in the mainstream, and I think that this masterclass was very welcome from our students, as you made some very convincing points. You have been illustrating the legitimate concerns that Gazprom has. And unfortunately, in the mainstream, in the press, as you said, well, especially in the West, unfortunately, Gazprom sometimes is outgunned, and your points of view, or at least some of them, are not represented. But our students try to approach energy affairs without prejudice, unlike opinion makers or some opinion makers in the West. They are here just to learn. So that's why I don't think that they are so naive. By the way, I think that your visit comes very timely, because only 1 week ago we've hosted a very harsh critic of Gazprom, Vladimir Milov. We know that he has a clear bias, a political bias. So our students are not so naive to take everything that he has said as gospel truth.
Look, he's much more reasonable than many other critics.
Yes. Okay, there is even worse. But just to say that our students, they try not to have such biases. They are just studying here. By the way, I think that I hope that some of them at least will try to apply for internships or job vacancies at Gazprom. We'll see. And so finally, I would also like to ask you for your PowerPoint presentation, because it was very interesting, and I am sure that students would like to read it again. So thank you very much for your presentation. And